Hello and welcome back to the channel. We are going to do a new story today, and it is going to be based on the Marvel Avengers called Made in Magic. Doctor Strange is a great mentor to Scarlet Witch. When the ruler of the Dark Dimension appears in New York, the magical duo put their powers to the test. This was published by Autumn Publishing, and let's get into it. In Greenwich Village in New York City, Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch were practicing their magic at the Sanctum Sanctorum, Doctor Strange's enchanted home. Scarlet Witch had asked him to help her practice her spells, and her hex bolts were growing stronger and stronger. She gathered energy in her hands, and Doctor Strange dived to the side. Even with the help of the cloak of levitation, he was barely able to fly out of the way fast enough. The hex bolt exploded and his desk burst into flames. "You're getting better," Doctor Strange told her. "All that power will come in handy one of these days." "Thank you," Scarlet Witch replied, "although I think we should do with practice for the day. How about a coffee? It's on me." As they walked towards the front door, Doctor Strange silently conjured a water spell. The flames on his desk were quickly snuffed out. "After you," he said. The crisp autumn air was the first thing Doctor Strange and Scarlet Witch noticed as they stepped outside Strange's magical protected home. The second thing they noticed was that every single person on the street was frozen in place. "That's not exactly what you want to see," said Doctor Strange. Scarlet Witch didn't answer. Doctor Strange looked over at his fellow Avenger. Scarlet Witch stood motionless. Her mouth hung slightly open, her eyes were wide, yet she didn't blink. It was as if she was in a trance. Suddenly, Doctor Strange felt a wave of terror rush over him. He couldn't move either. High above New York, thunder boomed, lightning flashed. The sky itself was tearing open to take the shape of a doorway. A figure flew through its opening. Doctor Strange recognized the figure instantly as one of his oldest foes, the ruler of the Dark Dimension, one of the most powerful sorcerers to ever live, Dormammu. "As soon as you set foot outside your fabled Sanctum Sanctorum, my spell took hold," Dormammu said. "You were the last two on the planet to fall under the sway of my memory spell." Doctor Strange was not listening to the words of his old enemy. Dormammu's spell had taken hold of him. Strange's mind was somewhere else. He was in the past, trapped in a memory. It was years ago, back when Dr. Stephen Strange was a successful surgeon. All the money and success and praise had gone to his head. One night, whilst in his car, he was driving much too fast on a road that had too many turns. Doctor Strange's car shot off the cliff. There was a crash and an explosion, and then his world went black. In his memory, Stephen Strange woke up to find that his days of being a surgeon were over. His hands had been damaged beyond repair. But Doctor Strange refused to give up. He searched the world for a cure. What he found instead was something very different. What he discovered was quite simply magic. After meeting a sorcerer called the Ancient One, Strange realized that the only way to fix his life wasn't to fix his hands. It was his attitude that needed work. His old life was over. It was time to think about others for a change. But before he could act, before he could do anything at all, Doctor Strange was suddenly back in the hospital. He was a surgeon again. This memory spell was starting over. He was trapped in a repeating loop. Doctor Strange wasn't the only one stuck in a memory. Scarlet Witch was caught in Dormammu's spell as well. In her mind, she was back on Wundagore Mountain as a little girl named Wanda Maximoff. As she grew older, Wanda found she could tap into the chaos magic and use powerful energy in bursts that she called hex bolts. Likewise, her twin brother Petro discovered his own fantastic abilities. He could move at super speeds. No matter how much they wanted to have regular, ordinary lives, Wanda and Pietro were destined to be different. Wanda and her brother, who had adopted the name Quicksilver, joined forces with a team of villains. When Scarlet Witch met the Avengers, she and her brother soon realised the error of their ways. The Avengers had been gifted though with special abilities, but they embraced those powers. She was inspired by these heroes, but before she was able to remember when she became an Avenger, Wanda's thoughts looped back to Wonder Girl Mountain. She couldn't escape the spell. Back in the real world, Dormammu was pleased. He had Earth sorcerers exactly where he wanted them, and the dimension was finally his. But Dormammu didn't realise that the hero's magical abilities were telling them that it wasn't real. An explosion of white-hot magic ripped through the air and knocked Dormammu off his feet. The two heroes had managed to release themselves from the memory loop and were fighting back. Scarlet Witch fired a hex bolt at the villain before he realised what was happening. As she pushed Dormammu back, Doctor Strange opened a portal to a prison dimension behind Dormammu. "Goodbye now," Scarlet Witch said before Dormammu could react. She shot another fiery hex blast at him. It was her strongest yet. The evil sorcerer was forced backwards into the dimension and vanished. All along the street, people awoke from the trance. They shook their heads and without a second thought continued on with their day as if nothing had happened. Scarlet Witch laughed and then said, "So, same time tomorrow?" "Of course," Doctor Strange replied. "Let's get that coffee before practice tomorrow." Scarlet Witch looked forward to it. Thanks for watching this video. Like, share and subscribe and support the channel however you can. And I will see you real soon.